Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu salam ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi, wa man tabi'a hudah. So last week we spoke about the hams, if you remember. And today, this is the last lesson of level 4 before the test. So next week we'll have the test, inshallah. And next week we can either do the test and some reading, or we could start level 5. So either way, maybe we'll just do the test and some reading instead of starting. We used to do the test and start a new lesson when we didn't have enough time, but inshallah, maybe this time we'll only do the test. So the topic today is Al-Muathin, والمتجانسان والمتقاربان. It's a scary title, and sometimes you'll find in some books that they add Al-Mutabaidan as well. So the two are like, the two similar, and the two close. What they are referring to here is two letters. Two letters that are alike. That means it's the same letter repeated twice, either within the same word. For example, you have a meme and a meme, or in two words. You have a meme at the end of a word and then a meme at the beginning of the next word. This is what Al-Mutathilan means, or the two alike. Two letters that are alike. And the two similar is two letters that are similar in the point of articulation. That means they are pronounced from the same point, but of course they are different. For example, the ta and the ta. Ta and ta. If you think about it, you'll find that they come out from pretty much the same area when you say ta or ta. Ta, ta. And the two close are the ones that are that don't come out from the same point of articulation, but they are very close to each other in terms of point of articulation. Example of that is the lam and ra. Lam and ra. And we'll see some examples, inshallah. And we are not going to talk about al-mutabaidan. Al-mutabaidan, those are the letters that are far apart. Basically, everything else is going to be letters that are far apart. Example of the, let's say, qaf and ta, right? They are very far apart. All right. So let's give some examples of the first category, which is the al-mutamathilan. And I don't expect people usually to memorize the terminology in this particular case. I'm not going to ask you what is the difference between mutamathilain and mutajanisain and mutaqaribain or mutabaidain, but you just have to understand the concept behind it. So the two are like. Here are some examples of the two letters that are alike, that are basically, it's the same letter. In the first case here, first example, it's the same letter. The letter is ha, and it is in the same word, right? It is a ha with a sukoon, followed by a ha with a dhamma. So what will happen in this case, and the reason we are talking about these mutamathilain, mutaqaribain, and mutajanisain, we are really talking about the cases where they are going to be merged into each other. And this merging is called idgham, right? We have seen it in the rules of nun sakin and tanween, idgham of the nun, and we have seen it in the rules of al-mim, as-sakina. So we are talking about when the idgham happens, in this case, we have a ha sakina followed by a ha with a dhamma. So we're going to make idgham of the first ha into the second ha. Right? In terms of pronunciation, you can't really tell if the person did make idgham or not because it's the same letter. Right? And the second letter has a shadda anyways. You're not going to put like a triple shadda. Right? So it's not going to be more emphasized. So you say yukrihunna, yukrihunna. If a person would try not to make idgham, he may be tempted to make like a qalqala in the first one, yukrihunna, or something like this, which is impossible to do. It's very heavy. The reason we are making idgham is to make it easier to pronounce. So we say yukrihunna, yukrihunna, and of course we are not making it long. There's no two haraka or anything. It's just a shadda basically. And in the second example, or all of the other examples are in two words. So we have a ba here in the second example, followed by another ba. So we say وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ. And I have to note here that this shadda here in the word ba'dukum is not part of the word. Right? It's not part of the word. It just signifies that that we have idgham. It is used as a sign to tell you that here there is a idgham. What do we notice too here in this example? We notice something else. That the first ba doesn't have any haraka on it. This is how they use it in the Mus'haf al-Madina, the green Mus'haf. So they don't put anything on top of the ba. We know there is a sukoon, but they don't put anything, meaning that we're going to have idgham. So they didn't put anything on the ba, on the first ba, and they put also a shadda to tell you that we're going to merge the first ba into the second one. Because if we haven't done, or if we don't do idgham, we will have to do qalqala, and it will make it very, very heavy to accomplish. I would say وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ, makes it very heavy to pronounce. وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ. But instead I have to say وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ. So I'm merging the first ba into the second one. Similarly, in the third example, we have a lam with sukun followed by a lam with a fatha. So I say هل لكم هل لكم. And again here also they didn't put anything on top of the lam, the first lam, and they put a shadda even though it's not part of the word in the second word and second lam, to tell you that we have idgham. In the fourth example, we have a dal sakina in the first word, waqad, and in the second word, another dal with a fatha, waqad dakhalu, waqad dakhalu. If I don't do idgham, I would have to make again here qalqala, which makes it very difficult to pronounce. If I say waqad dakhalu, waqad dakhalu, waqad dakhalu, waqad dakhalu. And in the last example, إِذَا مَتَّقَوْا وَآمَنُوا, we have a waw followed by a waw. What's the difference between the first waw and the second waw? Anybody wants to tell me what's the difference between the first waw and the second waw? In terms of tajweed. Yes, by the way. All right. Jazakallah khair. And the second one? A normal waw, yes. That's correct. The first one is harful leen. We'll come back to this example at the end where we're going to mention some exceptions. I was not going to mention the exceptions today, but I thought I would tell you what the exceptions are, just something to keep in mind. But I don't think people will have problems with this, because here again in the Mus'haf, if you are looking at it, you notice that in the first waw they didn't put any haraka on it, as they did for the other ones. Similarly, they don't put a haraka on the first letter, right? The first letter, and they put a shadda on the second one. And as we said, the shadda is not part of the word, is just to tell you that we're going to have idgham here. So we say إذا ما اتقوا وآمنوا. إذا ما اتقوا وآمنوا. All right. So these are plenty of examples. Brother Slim.
For the first one, can you, not this one, but
yes.
Can you read it? Yukrihunna.
Yukrihunna.
No, there is no haraka in Arabic.
You mean if in Arabic?
Yeah, yukrihunna. You put the dhamma in the first half.
There is a sukoon. I mean, that's why we have idgham, because there is a sukoon on the first ha.
Yeah, then that's the way.
Yeah.
Then maybe you can't say it.
No, in this case, no. In this case, no. I know you're coming from the word yukrihu, akraha yukrihu. Mm-hmm. But in this case, it's yukrih. Yukrihunna. It has a sukoon. The ha in this case doesn't have a dhamma. It has a sukoon.
All what I'm saying is maybe this is a tajweed rule, but not Arabic.
No, I don't think it is tajweed, because tajweed is a consequence. The tajweed in this case is a consequence of what haraka the ha had already. It's not going to change the haraka because of the tajweed. And Brother Slim, he's silent. he's not supposed to ask a question in the first place. And you're asking a difficult one. So Brother Slim, Brother Mustafa and Brother Ahmad are silent. Welcome to the club. You only have one last week, inshallah. The test, after the test, you're going to be full-time, inshallah, again. You can save the question if you want. Bring it back. Unless another brother has a comment on this word.
It is فعل مضارع مجزوم ومن يكرههن. So the original word in the grammar is sukun. And because we have another ha there, so they're married.
All right. Jazakallah khair. It's in addition to what I said, is that there was already a sukoon there. That's why we are doing the merging. It's not like there was a dhamma and then we removed it, we put sukoon just to do the merging. Because the definition, if we go back a little bit, the reason we are talking about the المثلان المتجانسان والمتقاربان, we are talking about the cases where we will be doing the merging. Right? And to do the merging, of course, we have seen this is the first case. You have to have two of the same letters. In this case, we are talking about the two alike. You have to have two set of the same letter. And the first one has to have sukoon. If the first one doesn't have sukoon, then it will not happen. Right? It will not happen. All right? And we'll see some exceptions at the end as well. We'll see some exceptions at the end. All right. So this is the first case, the two alike. Yes, by the way.
The last one, with and without emotion.
The last one with and without idgham. إذا ما اتقوا وآمنوا. I mean, because in this case, you will not know if a person did idgham or not, because it's the same letter and there is no qalqala or anything in between. So you will not know if a person did the idgham or not. If I say إذا ما اتقوا وآمنوا, it's similar to إذا ما اتقوا وآمنوا, because we have a waw with the sukoon, right, followed by a waw with the fatha. So whether I read them in my mind separately or together, they will be pronounced as if it is one letter with the shadda. In other words, you cannot say it wrong. I mean, it's very right. It's very hard for a person to say it wrong in this particular case. In this particular case, in other cases like the قد دخلوا and لا يغتب, the second example, and the fourth, here a person may be tempted to make qalqala. He would say لا يغتب لا يغتب بعضكم لا يغتب بعضكم. He would say qalqala. Then we will know that it's wrong. Or in the fourth example, he would say وَقَدْ دَخَلُوا وَقَدْ دَخَلُوا. In this case, the third example, a person may be tempted to make two haraka. He would say هَلْ لَكُمْ. This could be like common mistakes. But still, even if he makes two haraka here, he didn't. We cannot say that he didn't make idgham. He didn't make idgham. He just made it too long. So the issue here, the common mistake, is not that people will not know how to do idgham. Most people will not have a problem with this. Most people. All right? Let's see now the second case. The second case is the two similar. We said that the two similar are the ones, the letters that have the same articulation point, the same makhraj, but different characteristics. Different characteristics. And I know we talked about this a little bit, or we have seen some examples last time when we spoke about the tafkhim and the tarqiq, in the case of the ta and the ta, and the sin and the sad, and so on. And this is, when you think about it, it is logical, right? It is logical that these letters are similar. That's why they are merged. Even if it's not all the time, but they are merged because they are similar. Otherwise, we are not going to merge two letters that are very far from each other. Like I said earlier, they call them al-mutabaidan. Let's say the qaf and the ta. These are two letters that are completely separate, and they come from completely different parts of the point of articulations. But these ones logically you can tell that they have a lot of things in common when you see the ta and the ta. right? The ta is like a soft ta, and the ta is a strong ta, right? You can say this. Or the da and the ta, right? And also the other way around, the ta and the ta, because we'll see some examples where the ta is first and the ta is next, or when the ta is first and the ta is after it. It makes a difference. And we have a dhal and a dha. And we talked about it in the past, and we said that when you pronounce the dhal, you have to put the tip of the tongue out, right? Similarly, when you pronounce the dha, so the dha and the dha, you can say that the dha is a strong dha and the dha is a soft dha. So, and then the tha and the dhal, the tha and the dhal are similar to this set here, the da, the dal and the ta, except that they have extra dots here. All right? They have one extra dot, which reminds you that you have to put the tip of the tongue out. The ta and the dal and the ta, and the tha and the zal, and the ba and the mim. Ba, mim. Your lips are doing the exact same thing. Ba, mim. Right? Ba, mim. And you'll see it clearly in these examples. Here in the first example, in the first two examples here, we have a ta followed by a dal. A ta followed by a dal. So we say فَلَمَّا أَثْقَلَ الدَّعَوَى. أَثْقَلَ الدَّعَوَى. This is a complete merging of the ta into the da, into the dal. Complete merging. أثقل الدعوة. أثقل الدعوة. And similarly, قال قد أجيبت دعوتكما. قد أجيبت دعوتكما. Otherwise, here, if I didn't do idgham, then I would have had to make hams, right? Hams. And if you recall, last week we read Surah Al-Shams, and we read Surah Al-Shams, right? Or the week before we read Surah Al-Shams, yeah. And I think last week I mentioned the example of Surah Al-Shams where كذبت ثمود. I remember I mentioned this, كذبت ثمود, where we have a ta followed by a tha. كذبت ثمود. We notice that the tha doesn't have a problem with the ta doesn't have a problem with the tha, right? They are not grouped in a set. The tha has a problem with the dal. That's why there was no merging there. كذبت ثمود. Here you are tempted to make merging of the ta into the tha to make it easier to pronounce. كذبت ثمود. This is how you hear people say it. كذبت ثمود. Like they are doing merging, because it's hard to pronounce. But the tha really doesn't have a problem with the ta. They are not similar. They look the same with an extra dot. قال قد أجيبت دعوتكما. قد أجيبت دعوتكما. So a complete merging of the ta into the dal. Complete merging reminds us of the idgham without ghunna. The idgham without ghunna. If you remember what the idgham without ghunna is, in the case of a noon, sakin and tanween, this is similar to it. That means it's a complete merging. Complete merging means that there is nothing left of the first letter. It's merged completely into the second one. We don't hear it, there is no sign of it. The second set of example here is a dal followed by a ta. You notice it's the other way around. First set of example was a ta followed by a dal. Now we have a dal followed by a ta. وَلَا أَنَا عَابِدٌ مَا عَبَدْتُمْ. عَبَدْتُمْ. If I don't make merging here, if I don't make idgham, I would say عَبَدْتُمْ. You may hear people, I'm sure I heard it before, where people they would make qalqala. If they know what qalqala is, they would make it here. عَبَدْتُمْ. It may sound okay. But instead it should be عَبَدْتُمْ. عَبَدْتُمْ. وَلَوْ تَوَاعَدْتُمْ. وَلَوْ تَوَاعَدْتُمْ. And here again, as we mentioned earlier, in the first letter, they don't, in the Mus'haf from Medina, they don't put a haraka. They don't put anything on the first letter. You see, in all these examples, you don't find anything written on top of the first letter. And you find a shadda written on the second letter. That tells you that there is idgham. In this example we have, in the last example in this slide, we have a ta followed by a ta twice in the same, a ta followed by a ta twice in the same letter, in the same ayah. In the same ayah. فآمنت طائفة. فآمنت طائفة. وكفرت طائفة. وكفرت طائفة. This is also a complete merging of the ta into the ta. And you can understand in this case that the ta is one of the letters of isti'la, the strong letters, 7 strong letters. So anything beside it will be basically swallowed. So if there is idgham, then the ta will just take the ta, the whole thing. It's not going to leave anything out of it. It's going to swallow the whole letter. So kafarat ta'ifa, which means that we are not going to hear a ta or any characteristics of the ta, except the characteristics that are shared. So any characteristics that we hear are of the ta, but not of the ta, because the ta is stronger. This is another example where we have the other way around. We have a ta followed by a ta. A ta followed by a ta. So in the previous examples, we had a ta followed by a ta. Now we have a ta followed by a ta. And this is what makes this different. And you can see here, what do you notice here? What do you notice here? There is no shadda. Like Brother Slim was making a sign. There's no shadda on the ta. There's no shadda on the ta. And this is an idgham that is not complete. The reason is because the ta is much stronger than the ta. And we can compare this to the idgham with the ghunnah. In the idgham with the ghunnah, we said, in the case of the noon sakin and tanween, you can still hear the ghunnah of the noon. Right? So there's still a little bit of the noon left. So it's not a complete merging. It's not idgham kamil. They call it idgham kamil, which is a complete merging. So in this case, you will hear some characteristics of the ta when you pronounce the idgham, when you do the idgham. And this is probably one of the most challenging things when you do the idgham of this kind, the mutamathilain. All right? So you say أحضت. أحضت. The difference is that if somebody doesn't make idgham, obviously he would have to make qalqala. أحضت. Like this. أحضت. If a person doesn't make idgham. But if he makes an idgham, he would have to say أحضت. If he doesn't make it properly, he would say أحضت. What happens now? أحضت. I asked one brother who used to, many years ago, he used to teach Quran. He memorized the Quran and he used to teach it in the school. I told him, when you pronounce this, do you hear the ta at all? He said, no. He said, when you read it, you say, أحدت, like this. I told him, no. And then this same person went and specialized in Quran, and he basically became specialized in the 10 qira'at, and he came back. And I told him, you remember when I asked you about this many years ago? He said, yeah, I was wrong. Right? So it may seem simple, right? It may seem simple, but you can clearly see the difference. If you don't show any characteristics of the ta, that means you're going to say ahadtu, because the ha is soft, the ta is soft. If there's nothing in between, that means everything will be soft. Ahadtu. But instead we are saying ahadtu. It is as if you are about to pronounce the ta, but you don't pronounce it. Ahadtu. It's up to you. All right, there's I think one more example, similar example here, or maybe even one other one. Here, it's exactly the same scenario. We have a ta sakina followed by a ta, right? A ta followed by a ta. So we say farradtu, farradtu. If I didn't. If I do a complete merger of the ta into the ta, I would have to say farradtu, farradtu. But instead I'm saying farradtu, farradtu. So the fa is soft. This is probably more challenging than the first one because the fa is soft, the ra is strong, and then you have the ta, or the characteristic of the ta, and then the ta, which is soft. Let's see if the next one is even harder. This is probably harder than both of them. The reason is because the sin, we will be tempted to make it strong. It will become like a sad, right? It will become like a sad, like this, basatta, right? And you hear people saying this. It will become basatta, like this, basatta. But instead it should be basatta, 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 basatta. So it is, as I said, it is as if you are about to pronounce the ta, but you don't pronounce it. It's like you stop halfway. So if I don't do this, I would have to say basatta. It is actually this example that I asked the brother. Basatta, basatta. If I don't make it properly, basatta. If I make qalqala, if I pronounce the ta, then I would say basatota, like this, basatota, which is also wrong. Let's see if there's one more like this. Yeah. Ma farrattum, farrattum. And I still think that this one, I don't know if you agree with me or you need to think about it more, is the toughest one of this group. This is Surah Al-Ma'idah, in the story of the sons of Adam. The stories of the sons of Adam. فرطتم. فرطتم. This one is easier because we have a ra which is already strong. So it makes the transition into the characteristics of the ta easier. But the other one here, you have it between two soft letters, and you will be tempted to make the sin into a ta. Or in some cases maybe people would make the ta into a ta as well.
So what if we stop at this letter, at this word? Do we pronounce hams also? This word or farra?
It makes it probably even more difficult. Yeah, you will have to make hams obviously, but it makes it even more difficult to pronounce. Farrat, farrat, or basat. It makes it even more challenging. All right. All right. So this is probably easier, much easier than the other ones. And again, you notice in the four examples, as I mentioned earlier, they didn't put a shadda on the ta. So now the next example is a dhal followed by a dha. وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ إِذْ ظَلَمُوا إِذْ ظَلَمُوا. And here, obviously, because the dhal is a soft letter and the dha is a much stronger letter, so there will be nothing left of the dhal. It's a complete merger. وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ إِذْ ظَلَمُوا إِذْ ظَلَمُوا. This one is simple. I don't think anybody will have a problem with this. Here it's the same thing. إِذْ ظَلَمْتُمْ إِذْ ظَلَمْتُمْ. And this one is Surah Al-A'raf. Even though a person may stop at the end of Yalhath. And obviously this is not the complete ayah. The ayah is much longer than this, but this is just part of the ayah. أو تتركه يلهث ذلك أو تتركه يلهث ذلك يلهث ذلك يلهث ذلك. So here again it's a complete idgham. يلهث ذلك. All right, the final category here, or case, is the two close. The two close are the letters that are not necessarily coming out of the same point of articulation, but they are close in terms of pronunciation. يا بني اركب معنا اركب معنا. If a person doesn't do idgham here, he would say اركب معنا. اركب, he would have to say the قلقلة. Yeah, the ra is strong. Yeah. اركب, did I say soft? All right. يا بني اركب معنا. Whether we start from the اركب or from before it, the ra is strong. يا بني اركب معنا اركب معنا. Here we have a lam followed by a ra. Lam and ra. And again here they are doing the same thing. They don't put a haraka on the first letter and they put a shadda on the next letter. So I would say وَقُرْ رَبِّي وَقُرْ رَبِّي. It is similar to the rules of noon, sakin and tanween, the idgham without the gunna, if you remember. Pretty much the same thing. And it is achieved the same way as well. وَقُرْ رَبِّي. And here بَرْ رَفَعَهُ. If you remember the noon, sakin and tanween, the idgham without the gunna, you will know how to do this. بَرْ رَفَعَهُ. And here again we don't make it long. We don't say بَرْ رَفَعَهُ. But we only say it as if the ra has a shadda. بَرْ رَفَعَهُ اللَّهُ. بَرْ رَفَعَهُ اللَّهُ. Anybody can think of a word in English that people mispronounce by doing something like this? A word that we have seen lately in the last probably few days or few weeks, a very popular word that we have seen that some people mispronounce. Mispronounce meaning that they do something like this, they merge. The word is Valentine. Valentine. So some people they would say Valentine with an M. Why? Because the noon and the meme, they are very close to each other. And we have words in the Quran. We have words in, whether it is in the Quran or in the dialect, that sometimes we do it, whether it is wrong or right. That's not the problem, but I'm just saying that because they are close, people are tempted to basically merge them or pronounce one instead of the other. So instead of saying Valentine, I would say Valentine. Noon and the meme. I'm sure you will remember some other words that we sometimes use like this. This one, obviously, in this particular example, there is a sakta here, which means that if you follow that particular riwayah that has the sakta, then you will not be making idgham. But if you don't make a sakta here, if you don't pause, if you don't stop, as it is the case with the wajh or the riwayah that I use, then you merge the lam into the ra like we did for the other ones. So you say kalla barwana, kalla barwana. And similarly, we have a noon followed by a qaf here. وَقِيلَ مَرْوَاقٍ. I think the example here is basically idgham without the gunna, but because of the sakta, we are mentioning this here. And I think this is the final example here. أَلَمْ نَخْلُقكُمْ. أَلَمْ نَخْلُقكُمْ. And you notice here that the qaf is one of the letters of isti'la, one of the strong letters. خُصَّ ضَغْطٍ قِضْ. And the kaf is one of the soft letters. So what will happen here is what happened to the case of the ta and the ta. Or at least in some qira'at, or in some qira'at or some awjuh. There may be a difference of opinion here in this particular word. I believe some of them say that you have to do the same thing as we did for the ta. You have to show some of the characteristics of the qaf. That means it's not a complete merger. Because if you do a complete merger, it will sound like this: nakhluqkum, nakhluqkum. But if you show a little bit of the qaf, if you don't do a complete merger, you would say نخلقكم. نخلقكم. I almost pronounced the qaf now. So it will show a little bit of the qaf. It makes a difference whether it is completely merged or if it shows a little bit. Okay, finally, exceptions. And I'm sure you will agree with me when you look at these exceptions that they will make sense, right? They will make sense. That's why I was not planning to talk about them initially. If we have two letters and the first one doesn't have a sukoon, then as we mentioned earlier, we will not have a idgham. We will never have a idgham because the first letter doesn't have a sukoon. So we would, even though it may seem like difficult to pronounce, حيث ثقفتموهم or مناسككم or ببعض. Maybe some words are more difficult to pronounce than others when they have this scenario. But we will not have an idgham, even though it's the same letter. The second exception is if the first letter has, or if the first letter is waw or the ya of mad, the waw or ya of mad. The examples we saw earlier, we saw the examples. The example, ittaqaw wa amanu. Do you remember the example, or you want me to show you the slide again? You remember it? All right. What is the difference between ittaqaw wa amanu? The difference is, as Abu Yahya mentioned, that the first waw was harf lin. But in this case, amanu wa amilu. Even though we have two waws, one with sukoon, the other one with fatha, the first waw happened to be mad, harf mad, not harf lin. If it were to be harf lin, if the waw was a harf lin, as it was the case for ittaqaw wa amanu, then we would have had idgham, as we had it for ittaqaw wa amanu. But because of this, because of the waw of mad, we will not have idgham, so we pronounce it normally, as we pronounce the mad, amanu wa amilu. And here, also, I don't think anybody will have problems with this. Fi Yusuf. Fi Yusuf, of course, we have a ya with the sukoon, followed by a ya with the dhamma. And the reason, I guess, they mention this in the books of Tajweed is because it fits the requirement, it fits the rule, right? We have two letters, one with the sukoon, the other one with fatha, but it is an exception because the first ya is mad, harf mad. And the last exception is when we have a sakta. Of course, when we have the same letter, and between them is a sakta. And this is only found once in the Quran and only in this qira'ah, in Hafs. It is not found anywhere else, as far as I remember. And even within Hafs, it is for those who make the sakta. But most likely, because they're going to be stopping at the end of this ayah, then it's not going to be an issue. But if they are continuing, then they will have to act accordingly. So here, they are not going to make a merge of these two because of the sakta. And the end of the ayah, you have many reasons. All right. It took us a lot longer than I thought. But even though what is important from this topic, المثلان, المتجانسان, and المتقاربان, is to have an idea of what it is. Otherwise, in terms of practice, these are things that are already written in the Quran. That means you don't have to guess or to remember the rule, or to remember if those are an exception, or if they are close to each other, or they are the same or not the same. You just have to remember one thing: if they don't put a haraka on one letter, that means it's telling you something. Because if they do put a haraka on the letter, that means you just have to pronounce it as it is. If they don't, that means there is a rule there. So it will give you an idea that if you see something like this, let's say in this example, you have a ba with nothing on it, and there's a shadda. First alarm that will sound is this one. The ba doesn't have anything on it. That means there is some kind of rule. And the meme has a shadda. There is no word that starts with a shadda. Right? So there are two things that are telling you something here. Right? I think it makes it easy, very easy for a person, even without knowing the rule, to read this after knowing or after seeing that there's no sukoon on the ba written and there's a shadda on the first letter. Do you agree? All right. What are the common mistakes? The common mistakes are probably a person may pronounce the first letter, he will not do idgham. And for most people, when it comes to the ta and the ta coming before the ta, then most people will not know how to do it. Right? Most people will not know how to do it. All right. So instead of doing the reading today, we will do the reading with the quiz, because we will probably have a lot of time left when we do the quiz next week. So we do the quiz, and then we do some reading. We don't really have a lot of ayat that have these kind of cases, so we'll have to pick something that maybe have one example, and some other rules, the rules of tafkhim and tarqiq, and the rules of makharij al-huruf and stuff like that. I've selected maybe 2 or 3 ayat that we can read next week. So the next week, the test, you will have some questions with the test. So maybe we'll do the same thing we did last time. I will email you the questions and you answer through email, preferably ahead of time before Wednesday or before noon Wednesday, so that I'll have time to write it down. And the test is going to be reading from the Mus'haf, from a page that most people don't memorize. Let's put it this way. So I'll ask you to open from a page from the Mus'haf, and you recite from it. And it's either going to be the same page for everyone or maybe different page for everyone, to make it fair. All right, any questions for today? No questions? All right. So next week we'll have the test, and the test obviously is a prerequisite for level 5, and then we'll start fresh level 5 with full-time participants, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. جزاكم الله خير.